What's up everybody, a Sparrow with a Gun here from Sleepless Nights with another episode on the Space Engineers Inspiration series. We're starting things off today with the Star Wars Razor Crest Gunship. I kind of feel like that needs no introduction, but there may be some people out there that haven't seen Mandalorian yet. If you haven't, well, that's fine if you're not a big Star Wars fan. If you're a big Star Wars fan, what's wrong with you? I don't have any room to talk. I'm running a channel that predominantly has space video, content about spaceships and space games and stuff, and then I haven't seen, like, a lot of the Hallmark, staple sci-fi series, like Battlestar Galactica and all that kind of stuff, so I don't have any room to talk. But I picked this one because I actually thought it was a pretty decent attempt at recreating it. It looks really legit. Especially since this is a modless. It does have DLC, but it doesn't have any mods. There is a fully vanilla version that's available, but I went ahead and decided to do it with the DLCs because I have them and I do think it adds a little bit to the design. One thing that I thought was really clever is the use of the atmospheric thrusters as kind of that turbine look. Now, that's not entirely cosmetic in that it will fly in planets, or in atmosphere on planets. I kind of got the terms mixed up there. But yeah, overall, I think that was a pretty good job. I think it looks really good. As for how to open the door, here's probably the solution. Let's see here. We've got hinge, right side ramp, and hinge left side ramp. Okay, I didn't know there was actually two ramps. Interesting. That may be... I don't remember if there is a ramp on both sides in the show. We've also got these retractable landing gear things here, which is a pretty clever use of a hinge. Actually, whoa, that's cool. I just kind of realized what they did here. They've actually got this on a small grid piston. Huh. Who'd have thunk it? So they have a small grid piston. That's kind of a neat idea, actually. Huh. I didn't know you could transition... Well, actually, this is small grid still. I was going to say I didn't know you could transition to large grid, but it's actually small grid. That's clever. I think that's cool. We'll take a look at that in a second. Okay. Not sure how I feel about that. That the ramp is there, but it's a little steep to just walk up kind of thing. You have to kind of jump that last little bit. So there is that. Now as for the button to retract it. Left side ramp. Oh, wrong one. I got my sides mixed up. Right side ramp. And we have timer block rear ramp. Oh, there's a rear ramp. Okay. Oh, that's going to be like the major cargo ramp, I guess. Probably. Yeah, okay. Interesting. Definitely used a lot of the silver texture kind of thing. Everything's very shiny. But, to be fair, that is kind of how it looks, at least at the beginning of the show. It takes a beating throughout at least the first season. Carbon freeze. Okay, this is cool. I was wondering what this was. We gotta try this out. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. That makes me happy. That's pretty clever. That's a really interesting use of just doors. That's pretty cool. I like it. That's pretty awesome. I don't really know what that is on the side there. That almost looks like a mod. Hold up. It's like there's writing on... What is this? Monolith. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Is that a vanilla block? That can't be right. Can it? Hold up. How do I not know? It's not in there. What is this thing? I'm very confused. I am very confused by this. Hold on. Okay, so apparently these actually are vanilla block, and I'm just the last one to find out about them. I don't know how they did this, because I'm in creative mode, and even in the, like, G menu, it doesn't come up as a monolith, so I don't know where they found this block. But apparently it's on, like, Mars or something. Anyway, I'm assuming this is supposed to be carbon-frozen people, but that's just a crazy thing, because I had no idea that was even a block. Alright, so we've got the... Alright, this is fairly accurate. Actually, it's a little bit roomier than the legitimate ship, because you got the space toilet, basically, and then you got, like, the bedroom or whatever. And obviously they made it for more, like, functioning in terms of the space engineers, but it's like, in the show, it's like this. Like, you lay down, and it's like, he's in the bed now. So, it's a little bit on the roomier side, but that's one of those unavoidable, like, differences between the game and the show. So I'd try and let those things go, because there's nothing you can really do about them. With the exception of building it on, like, a small grid and going crazy detailed with it. But in the description it does mention wanting to be more functional. So it's kind of more function over form, but still trying to keep it somewhat on par with the one from the show. And then we got a cargo axis here, it looks like. Well, I guess it's an O2 generator, but still, you could access the rest of the system through it. Got a little mini bar there, and then we have the bridge. Now, this is another area where large grid versus small grid would probably come into play, because obviously, in terms of function, this is probably about the level of, like, all the buttons and stuff you'd probably have, but in the show it's kind of like all over, and it's a smaller cockpit, and there's a couple other seats. There is a passenger seat back here, which is, you know, again, appropriate, but just saying. So, I think it probably will function better in-game versus being one-to-one accurate to the show, but I'd still, you know, I'm terrible at building, especially when it's trying to match a movie or something like that, so hat goes off to them for that. So we've got a connector, we've got the landing gears, we've got the locks, hydrogen thrusters, hinges for the different ramps, and then spotlights. So nothing too fancy or crazy. Should keep things relatively simple. Let's check out the landing gears, which should be this. I'm pretty impressed by the ingenuity of using the small grid pistons and hinges and all that stuff to make, like, custom landing gears. That's pretty darn cool. And they actually conceal really well. I like it. Okay, so let's give the engines a go. Flying wise, it does fly really nice. I like the gyroscopes to it. And acceleration, it does accelerate pretty good. One thing I'm noticing is I don't see... I see the hydrogens on the lateral there. I don't see any for forward or reverse. I may just be missing them. And they may have them, like, inside these thruster pods. I'm not really sure. But I do like the look of that, though. That looks really cool. Alright, so overall, I think it's really good. It's a great effort. I really like it. It looks really cool. And I think that's going to do it for this one, so let's move on to the next one. Alright, so next up we have the Stellaris Fallen Empire Argus Battlecruiser. And as the name implies, this is a recreation of a ship from the game Stellaris, which I have absolutely played and know a lot about, and can totally vouch for the accuracy of this build. Moving on. So yeah, this is a... Now, one thing I will point out right off the bat, this is a space-only build, and although technically it's said to be survivable, or survival-ready, it is highly impractical according to the workshop description, as well as it is also mentioned that it was designed with form over function, and so things in the same size class and whatnot will probably be able to outperform it. So that's a couple of little caveat things to note. Also, I just want to point out, let me just zoom, I can't zoom in any further on my face, but I have to really give a shout out to the builder of this ship. I do not know them, but they were kind enough to describe the entrance location in the description. That's right. Didn't just have a sign, didn't just have glowing lights, but no, they actually put it in the description, said the entrance is in the upper part of the back of the front. And I was like, you are an amazing human being. Now, one interesting thing here is it does seem to be going off of a sensor. Ooh, that's kind of cool. I like the blinking lights and everything. I am a little surprised that with using a sensor and everything that there wasn't like... It felt a little foreign to me that it didn't have like an alarm. Like, you know, like some kind of sound block. I normally hate sound blocks. I really do. I don't like them. They're just noisy and they don't really do anything for me. But I'm just a little surprised that typically when they do flashing lights and airlocks and stuff, there's usually that boot, 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 you know, something. Some kind of indicator. Anyway, I'm assuming this is the main bridge, because I think that's what it said on the side. Command bridge, excuse me. Which, I get why the turrets in the bridge is a security thing, because I've seen it in quite a few builds, but it always makes me chuckle a little bit, where it's like, I don't want to fly the plane anymore. Don't care, Jimmy. We got guns trained on you. You're not going anywhere. It's like, it prevents hijacking and mutiny. It's very, very useful. But yeah, I know that's pretty common. It's one of those, just the way that my brain works, it just always seemed funny to me. So we have a maintenance access here, which again is kind of one of those, you have access to it, but this is a little bit more practical to me than some maintenance tunnels that we've seen recently. And I don't know, I'm not sure where I would fall into in my own builds, but I actually build maintenance tunnels and, what do they call them, Jeffries tubes and stuff. I'd like to think I would, but I also think that if I got down to the wire and was just like, nobody will see it, I may not. So it's why I don't crack on it too loudly or too much when I see it and it's like incomplete or something, because I'm like, I don't know if I'd put any more effort into it or not. The other aspect of that is because of the form over function design, I don't know how much of the interior was to form or whether it was to function, because it could just be an exterior form factor, like I just want to make sure the outside looks right and the inside needs to work. And with that in mind, then stuff like this is totally fine to me, because you're basically building it for two different reasons. Is when people want like the whole thing to look good, and then I've said it before, I probably should stop bringing it up, because otherwise it's going to sound like I'm just harping on it, because it's like, you know, I don't want to keep bringing up that it's like, oh, well, this one's an incomplete one, you know. And also, I think it's just a stylistic choice. Some people do it on purpose, if it makes it look more grungy or realistic to have it kind of just there, as opposed to everything looking all nice and spick and span. Caution on descent. I agree, caution on descent, because you're going to fall right onto a thruster. Heaven forbid that an engineer is working in the maintenance area, falls while you're descending and that thruster's going off. It's just, how did we lose Bob? Well, he fell into a thruster. That's not bad, while we were descending. Oh. So this is just all maintenance stuff. Got batteries, gyroscopes. It's killing my OCD. This is literally... I mean, again, it's a stylistic thing. Nothing really wrong with it. But for me personally, literally killing my OCD right now. It's just, there's some batteries, some thrusters, and I get it. Block damage and whatnot and stuff. You gotta keep them XYZ spaces away from each other. It's just driving me bananas. But, And like I said before, I've said it a couple of times, but I really want to hammer the point home, just in case anyone gets bothered by something I say. Nothing I say is like, this is wrong, you did a terrible job. No, I would never tell anyone that I featured on my videos that they did a terrible job, because everyone that I featured is probably doing it better than me. So, I'm the last person to tell you, oh, this is terrible. You know. Actually, I will say, I've seen some people that suggested, like, hey, I've got a build for you to look through, and some of them I didn't pick because it was about on my level, if I'm being honest, that I was like, I didn't see it as anything as spectacular because I was thinking it looked similar to something I've done, and I don't think mine are. I wouldn't put my own builds, if that tells you anything, I wouldn't put my own builds on my Inspiration series. Most of my builds have gotten better because of the Inspiration series. So, I've always had the mentality, just a little bit of a rant, I've always had the mentality of look up to people better than you, not to the people that are on your level, because that way you always improve. Just my little quote of the episode, I suppose, quote of the day. So yeah, anyway, moving on, rant over. But yeah, I really like the exterior and the shape. I don't know the ship that this is based on. I think I've seen it in trailers and stuff like that, but I do like the look of the ship overall. The exterior is gorgeous. It's really cool. I like a lot of the little... You can tell that that's where a lot of the effort went into, is making sure the exterior looked on point, and it does. The interior isn't bad either. It's just a little more cluttered and unorganized for my taste, but the exterior is... I don't even have to know what the ship is supposed to look like to think that this is a cool looking ship. So there's that. So we've got front cameras, which makes sense. We don't have a glass cockpit. We've got arm and disarm rockets. That sounds fun. Rocket launchers. We've got Gatling turrets on and off, antennas, hangar door. This, I think, yeah, window barricade. So that's for the behind the bridge area to protect that, which is a neat idea. We've got a connector piston, we got connector controls, we've got batteries, turrets, emergency power, that's interesting. Auxiliary antenna, thruster control, auxiliary gravity, that's not a bad idea. Having auxiliary stuff, I need to do more of that. I do so much in survival that I don't normally like building extras because it takes more resources. But, alright, so, if we arm the rockets, I'm guessing those doors open. Yep, because that's where the rockets are going to come from. Very cool. Once again, this is another one. Anytime you get more than like 2 or 3 rocket launchers in the front, it's just stay away from the front. Because that just seems like it would mess you up. You know, if you're that ship right there, and they just start strafing and just strafes across the side of your ship, just seems like a bad day. Alright, so let's test out maneuverability. Actually, I'm really surprised at the gyroscope maneuverability. Acceleration's not bad either. It moves a lot better than I expected for the size of the ship. But the gyroscope-wise, it's pretty responsive for a ship this size. I'm kind of impressed by that. But alright, so that's going to do it for this one. Let's move on to the last one. Alright, and last but certainly not least, we have the Star Wars Anakin's Podracer Radon-Ulzer 620C Podracer. And I completely remembered all of that off the top of my head. You don't know. You can't prove otherwise. Anyways, this is obviously a smaller build than what I typically do, but it was really cool. And one other fun fact, that it does happen, but it's pretty rare, that on accident, unintentionally, I featured... This is the same builder that built the Razor Crest, I believe. I could be wrong. You can check in the description to double check me, but I'm pretty sure. And usually that doesn't happen. Normally I don't feature the same builder in the same episode, unless like this, it's an accident, because I try and make sure that different people get, you know, recognition. But this was purely off of the just build of, or merit of the build that I just saw. It was like, oh, cool, and I was just writing down the information into my description files that I use, kind of thing, and I was like, wait a minute, I've seen that name before. Oh, right, it was the same one. One of the things that caught me was this energy binding thing. using the LCD image texture type thing and making basically a faked energy current. That was cool. I wasn't sure how they were going to do that. I wasn't sure if it was going to be spotlights or what. That was really cool. The only other way I could see to do that is a projector. Like having a projector with a pinkish purple blocks across it. That was the only other way. But when I actually saw kind of the arcs, I was like, wait a minute. How? Oh, transparent LCDs. Nice touch. It also has the pod flap things will open. And it mentioned wings, but I was thinking that was the wings, so I don't know what the wings are. So we're going to dive in real quick, as there's obviously not a ton of exterior to work with. And I did go ahead and put it in the atmosphere because I was betting it was an atmospheric ship, but since it's Space Engineers, I wasn't sure, and it does appear to be so. So, good call, me, apparently. So we have wings, we have side flaps, that's pretty much it. So it's a fairly simple build, but it works, because it's one of those, it's a simple design to begin with, so it doesn't really need to be complicated. So we've got the flaps, that's the flap button, which opens them up. The wings, oh, it's those side little nubs. Well, that's interesting. I didn't know those were supposed to extend and retract. Interesting. Alright, now according to the description, this is supposed to be pretty fast. I'm going to pull the fins in just because I can see myself scraping the fins. But, so this is supposed to be pretty fast, so we're going to give it a test run real quick. Holy crap. I believe the description mentions 0 to 100 meters per second in 4 seconds, which is nuts. Now, the only thing that I could see that would make this cooler, but it's outside this game's scope, other than a mod, is an actual hover system where it doesn't actually go too high off the ground. Because this is essentially just a flying ship, really. It just looks like the Podracer, but it doesn't have that hover. But I was thinking of like Empyreon, where there's actually a hover mechanic. And I was like, that would be kind of a cool thing to implement, is an actual hover system would be kind of neat. Though there's probably a mod for it. There's a mod for everything in Space Engineers, it seems like. So there's probably a mod for it. But overall, yeah, this is cool. This would be fun to actually fly around. I'd almost... I mean, I'm a terrible pilot, but I'd almost think it'd be really fun if somebody built like a course. That would be pretty cool. Also, I don't know about you guys. Let me know in the comments and stuff what you guys think, but I'm not typically one that flies first person. What do you guys think? This is definitely a ship I would want to fly first person. That would be kind of fun. But tell me what you guys think as far as... I'm just kind of curious, do you most of the time fly first person or third? I find myself flying in third, but a lot of RPGs and stuff I play in third person too, so maybe it's just me. I guess part of it is because I'm like, one, you get a better field of vision, you can see better, but two, is you spend so much time building something to make it look cool that I want to look at it, I guess. That's another factor, but I really like how this ship handles. It moves really well. And again, the speed thing, I feel like the real thing should go faster, but that's a limitation of the game engine. It caps at 100 meters per second or whatever, unless you do mods. So now with the speed mod, this thing would be crazy, I imagine. This would be kind of nuts. Or if you had modified thrusters. But anyway, I think that's going to do it for this episode. We're going to wrap things up for today. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, and I will see you all next time. Peace.